Welcome to Here Comes the Boom, a KSR and KSR Plus recruiting podcast talking all things Kentucky basketball recruiting. We've got a big show, we've got a commitment to talk about, and we've got a live period to recap. So let's get right into it and talk about Braydon Hawthorne, Kentucky's new small forward commit, maybe their last commitment for this 2025-2026 roster. He's a former West Virginia commit at a Huntington Prep in West Virginia, 6'8" forward. You've heard about him, but I want to talk about how Kentucky was able to land this commitment, because Kentucky first got involved when he decommitted from West Virginia in the spring. That was right around early April, I believe, late March. And then it really went quiet. Kentucky hosted him for an official visit, but things seemed to be shifting in the other direction just purely because we weren't hearing a lot about Kentucky. Duke started to get involved, some of the bigger names. Well, there's not many bigger names than Kentucky, but Duke, and then Virginia Tech, a lot of people assumed was gaining traction because of the connection with Chester Frazier, but it really came down towards the end between Kentucky and a return to West Virginia. I was told Sunday night that West Virginia had the highest NIL offer on the table, but then talking to more sources, it seemed like Kentucky was really trying to play this quiet, and they came in with a very strong competitive offer towards the end of his recruitment, right before that announcement was being made on Tuesday, really giving West Virginia no chance to even up that bid and get him. So this was a very savvy move by the Kentucky staff to land Hawthorne's commitment. And I've heard a lot of rumors about him redshirting. And I don't believe that to be the case. I think that he's going to come in and maybe he won't play a lot immediately, but in today's day and age, there's not a lot of benefit to redshirting. So I haven't heard anything to suggest that he would be. But this basically wraps up Kentucky's roster. So now let's move on and talk about some of their new priorities in 2026. Some of these not so new. Some of these guys Kentucky's been going after for more than a year. And let's kind of run through one by one where Kentucky stands with each of their top prospects. Obviously, it's still early, so there's a lot of guys that I'm not going to mention that Kentucky's offered, Kentucky's still going after. But these are the ones that come to mind after the early this first live period, starting with Tyron Stokes, number one player in the country. We've talked about him plenty. He was supposed to visit Kentucky this past week, but had to reschedule that because of the Nike EYBL returning to AAU. And he was excellent on the AAU circuit, playing with the Oakland Soldiers on the Nike EYBL. He looks a lot slimmer than last year. He can move. He's able to move a lot better on the court. He can shoot. He just looks like a completely new player. Last year, he just looked like a raging bull down the court, just overpowering everyone. Now he has a lot more finesse to his game, which really makes him look like the far and away number one player in the class. He's been the number one player for a couple of years now. I think this last weekend really cemented my thoughts on him being the best player in the 2026 class. Then let's talk about Jason Crow Jr. because Joe Tipton over at On3 put in a prediction, not on the RPM, but in a prediction story saying that he expects Kentucky to land Jason Crow. It's still super early, but the connection between him and Jason Hart is very, very important in this recruitment. Jason he told me this past weekend that he was actually planning to go to play at G League Ignite with Jason Hart before that league shut down. So now he's locked in on the college route. Talking to him, he said he could make a decision sometime in the fall before the early signing period. But talking to his dad, he expects that to come down more in the spring. So I'm not expecting anything too soon, but we could see some visits being set up, and I expect Kentucky to get one of those visits. Jordan Smith Jr., another 2026 guard, 5-star, one of the best players in the class. He's a guy that Kentucky has been going after for quite some time, but is starting to ramp things up as of very recently. When Kentucky was building this team through the portal, they weren't prioritizing Smith as much, and now they're ramping things up. They did an in-home, and Jordan wants to set a visit out there. He wants to set a visit to Arkansas, and then he wants to set a few other visits to some schools he's already seen. And that includes Duke, Syracuse, and a few others. Duke is a big contender in this one, Arkansas as well. And I think that if Kentucky can really make him a priority, they'll stand a good chance in that recruitment. Christian Collins, another one that was on the Nike EYBL circuit. He was actually playing with Taj Ariza with Team Why Not. I'm going to talk about both of those guys because Kentucky wants them both. Collins has been a massive stock riser. You can see now he's number 3 in the country on the On3 industry ranking. Before this season, he was outside the top 20, top 25. So he's blown up. He's been excellent, and everyone wants him. He hasn't set any visits. When I talked to his mom, she was saying they might try and squeeze some visits in June, but talking to him at the EYBL, it sounds like he's going to have those in the fall. And then Taj Ariza, another guy, Kentucky offered in the fall. They've been going after him for a long time. Jason Hart has been leading the way there, and Kentucky should be getting a visit when he sets those after the summer, excuse me. And then you've got Ikenna Alozie, point guard. Kentucky has offered for a long time, planning visits soon. Same thing. Kentucky's pushing, but he's another guard. You've got a lot of guards in this class with Crow, Smith, Alozie, a lot of guys that you like, and that's not even to mention Brandon McCoy and some others. So we'll see how much of a priority they make him, but if they do, expect him to be on a visit. And the last name I want to talk about is Anthony Thompson, who was on the 3SSB circuit. He didn't play this past weekend, I believe, but Kentucky's still making him a priority. He's visited twice. I expect him to take an official visit at some point. I expect Kentucky to be in that top group of schools. Looking at all of these guys, the thing I'm interested in is how they prioritize these guards, because you have a lot of guys like Jason Crow, Jordan Smith Jr., Ikenna Alozie, Brandon McCoy, a lot of guys that they like in that lead guard position, but you can't take them all. So it'll be a matter of who they prioritize and who they really ramp things up with. But those are the guys that Kentucky's prioritizing. I'm sure there's going to be a few more. Let's talk about some new names that have come about, starting with Bryson Howard, who Kentucky reached out to. Those Alvin Brooks and Mikhail McLean reaching out to earlier this week. He's a 6'4" shooting guard that was maybe one of the best players on the entire Nike EYBL circuit this past weekend. He is maybe the biggest stock riser we've seen outside of Cole Rosario, who we did an interview with over on KSR+. And Bryson, he is the son of former NBA player Josh Howard, who played with the Mavericks for a long time. He spent 10 years in the NBA, and he was an all-star in 2007, so a really, really good player. And Bryson, it's still early to see how hard Kentucky pursues him in this recruitment, but they're starting to reach out, and we'll see where things go from there. Bruce Branch is another name I want to watch. I haven't confirmed that Kentucky's involved, but he was a name I heard about a ton over on 3SSB. He's now in conversations as not only being the number 1 player in 2027, but maybe being the number 1 player in all of high school basketball. I had a scout say that to me, that there might not be a better player than him in high school basketball, I mean, prospect-wise and just pure player-wise. 6'7", 170 pounds, small forward that can shoot the ball, exactly what you want in a modern-day small forward. So he's a name to watch. And then the last name I want to mention is Cole Rosario. He had a massive EYBL performance. He's out of Moravian Prep, but he's playing with Team CP3, I believe, and Kentucky reached out to him immediately after that live period, calling him on Monday. So those are some new names to watch. Now let's talk about our sponsor, Fanstake. We've thrown a lot of names at you. Go ahead and go to fanstake.com and stake your favorite Kentucky target. Build them up over on Fanstake so that we can see who you want in the Kentucky blue. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to go and subscribe to KSR+. We're going to have a ton of great content for you, talking to some of Kentucky's newest targets. and go and subscribe to the KSR YouTube channel. We'll see you again soon.